Hey there, Andy here. I am joined today by Pat Summers. Pat is with Perry ProTech. How are you today, Pat?
I'm terrific, Andy. How are you today?
I am doing well here in Western New York. I'm hanging in here. You guys are a pretty big organization. You're in Ohio. Where else are you guys? How many locations do you have, and where are you located, Pat?
We're in Ohio and Indiana, and we also have some territory that goes into southern Michigan. We've got, I believe it's 8 separate locations, whether it's 8 sales offices, but service, sales, admin across those 2 states.
So a lot of people, a lot of employees. I'm guessing just like everybody else, you guys are now learning a lot about the remote products and working remotely, and a lot of the technology you've been selling for a very long time. You are now getting to use it for your very self. And how's it going? What's it been like with the new changes? What are you doing with your team to keep your technicians safe? And then I've got some more questions about what you're doing in some other areas.
Sure. Well, first of all, when you haven't done it before, you don't know how well you're doing, but we felt like we were relatively well prepared. We understand the technology. We represent the technology. And we very quickly on that, I think it was Monday, March 16th, when everything really went into motion, we became 100% remote. And really, it was a new thing for us as a business, and I'm really proud of the people in our company for how they've reacted, how well they've done with it, and I think we've learned a few things about who we are and what we're really capable of.
It's
Really,
it's good to hear. How's the people at your company? How your staff doing? Everyone okay? Everybody protected? I'm glad to hear everybody is
everybody's great.
Excellent.
Everybody's great, and we've taken a lot of precautions to try to ensure the safety of our people who still needed to be in the field, whether it's face masks, face shields, hand sanitizers. We implemented a full-blown questioning list of questions in our customer care center when a customer would call in and ask for service. We'd take them through a series of questions about where the product was, what types of things are going on in their facilities. Was it possible for them to move the product to a no population area or very low population area? Is it possible for them to sanitize the product on their own, because we're going to sanitize it when we get there and then again before we leave? Just a lot of things that I can't speak for everyone, but I didn't imagine that we would be asking these kinds of questions in the imaging business.
Yeah, I imagine you had to change your scripts right up, and that's actually one of the really interesting things that I'm finding is all the dealers and how they're handling this, and whether it's on the reception of the call or whether before the tech goes out they place the call, but everybody's got to check in and make sure they're not in harm's way before they walk into. You never know what you're going into, especially with I would imagine you guys are very strong in healthcare and in some of what we would consider essential services, manufacturing and transportation, all these things, and you're a major player in your market. Shifting gears a little bit, you are, I follow you a little more for the hard copy, for the print. I'm a dinosaur, but your company is actually very well known for managed services, networking, things like that. I'm sure, and we don't even need to get into it, your print volume is probably not the same as it was a few months ago, but tell me about what's going on with the other part of the house, the IT side. What's it been like over there, and what kinds of calls are you taking? What are you doing to help the front lines, the healthcare companies, these essential businesses that we mentioned before? What's that been like?
Well, as you mentioned, in our IT business, we actually have seen an increase versus a decrease in our activity. And really a lot of that having to do with so many workforces having to go remote and not being prepared.
Yeah.
Some companies looked at this like an opportunity where they said, great, if you guys can come in and there's none of our employees here, we won't have any business interruption, and you'll be safe installing product because there won't be anybody here. I'll let you in the front door and I'll stand 10 feet away from you, and you go do what you need to do. So from an IT perspective, it's been a lot of business as usual for us. We are really fielding a lot of calls that we would not normally see relating to remote workforce and hardware that people never had before, and things like that. And of course, maybe in that first week or two, you may recall there was a lot of people trying to really, hackers out there trying to do things, and of course, it was very nerve-wracking for customers, making sure that their information was safe, and we were right there in the middle of it with them. If you go back to our imaging business and you think about the service piece of it, we actually did not feel an enormous downturn in our traditional imaging business service. We only went down by about 5%.
Wow.
In the month of March. Now April's about to close, so we'll see what that ends up looking like.
Yeah, well, it's not closed yet, so we'll give you a pass on that one.
Yeah, we'll see how that looks. But really, from a business perspective, we tried to take all the right precautions of having people that absolutely had to be out. But the other part that we think helped our business, we didn't furlough anyone. We didn't have a layoff. We kept our sales organization fully intact. If we didn't have any work for somebody, they stayed home and they got paid to do so. We also were very, very aggressive, and we made early decisions to really amp up our training for our technicians, for our engineers, and for our salespeople. So as an example, over 600 online certification courses have been taken in our company since the 17th of March.
Oh, wow. And how many would normally be done in that time frame in a month?
I don't know the number, but
Fraction,
it might be 10.
Yeah.
Because if you're busy, you're busy.
You're out working, yeah.
We looked at this and we called it the pause button. Somebody else hit the pause button.
Yeah.
So we said, how many things do we always talk about together that, boy, if we only had time to make sure we could do this, or boy, if we could do that. So we've taken 20 more people through certain levels of fiery training. We've taken 16 or 18 more people through paper cut training. We have certified, I want to say most of our technicians across all product lines at this point. So all those things we were able to do because of the circumstances that we were put in. And then from our sales perspective, we have an imaging sales group and we have our IT sales group. Well, we've been able to do a ton of cross training for our imaging sales reps to get a lot smarter around the solution sets that we offer, whether it be a physical security solution set, a managed network services solution set. So we were very aggressive with that. In fact, I was just on a training, a third of our company's salespeople were on a training call when I hung up to come speak with you about our managed network services offerings. And it's really proving to be really helpful and useful for us. And it's another way for us to stay connected as a company.
So a couple of things really caught my ear there. And it takes me back when I do a lot, especially the dealer calls, right? And it just, I go to everybody's conferences, I go to all the OEMs meetings, and the common theme for like the last 20 years was solutions. You have to offset the print. And we all thought, well, it's a gradual decline. Everyone's got time for it. Some companies, were early to getting into other things like managed IT, or, could be document management, could be all of it, like you guys. And, I wonder if that's the fact that you're selling the paper cuts, the EFIs, these other solutions that are not just print. I wonder if that's, been somewhat helpful to you in offsetting, what we've as an industry been overall experiencing? Part of it could be, just your customer mix. Maybe you are more focused on some of those verticals that actually got busier. I have spoken to some dealers who print volumes, and it's not very many, but print volumes actually did go up just because they happen to focus on really only a couple verticals, and luckily for them, they're verticals that got busier. So other areas, special customers, what are you seeing out there from, healthcare and the hospitals, and what's that like, supporting it from an IT standpoint? Because those guys, what they're doing now is obviously just completely critical, and they don't have time to worry about keeping this stuff running. That's what you do. And so what's the intensity been like? What's the pressure been like? How has that been for you guys?
I would tell you that we have found that vertical to be obviously unbelievably busy. There is a lot of pressure out there, but very, very mindful of everyone's safety, to include ours. We have found that they can be very accommodating if it's in an area that we're uncomfortable going, and really from a flow, I would tell you that healthcare is our largest vertical market. So we service more products and clicks, if you will, in the traditional business in that space than any other. And so we're used to the flow. And this for us was really an opportunity and a challenge to make sure that we were able to make sure we could help those kinds of customers through this type of a crisis.
Awesome. Well, it's a tough time for a lot of dealers out there. It sounds like you guys are just, business as usual and taking care of your customers just like always. I'm sure you're impacted by this whole situation, but it sounds like a lot less than maybe some other companies. And, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to chat with me today. Is there any last things you'd like to say, a shout out to anybody, or anything you'd like to tell the viewers?
At the end of the day, our goal at Perry Protech when this thing started to come at us was, we've got to find a way to utilize the time to where when the smoke clears, we will be better than we were when we entered into the situation. And our very first meeting as a senior leadership group was all about, how do we try to attack this thing? How do we keep our people safe? And how do we make sure that we can try to protect the number one asset we have, which is our people? We're hoping that, what are we looking at? Tomorrow's May 1st. We're hoping that as some of the governors start to lift some of the regulations, Ohio is supposed to go back to Ohio, we haven't heard from Indiana yet, it's supposed to go back to a pretty, starting to loosen up a little bit. We're completely prepared with all the PE that we needed to have, and masks, and all. We're ready. And as the smoke starts to clear, we feel really good about the future and where we're going.
Well, you guys are just, you're one of the great ones, and I greatly appreciate it. I've known, you guys for years, and Barry and everybody there. And
Yep.
Say hi for me, and stay safe, and we will check in with you in a little while. And thanks again for talking to me today, Pat.
You got it. Thanks, Andy.